Hi, North Dakota students. My name is Michaela, and I'm a Student STEM Ambassador with the North Dakota Space Grant. As a student in civil engineering and environmental studies, I know how important it is to practice math. That's because math is like a language. The more you practice it, the more fluent you will be at speaking it with math terms and writing it with math symbols. And that's important because math as a language is the tool we use to communicate in science and in engineering. It's the tool we use for discovery and for building. At some point in middle school or in high school, you'll probably come across one of these for the first time. A graphing calculator or a scientific calculator. And each of these is kind of like learning a new language in itself. So today I wanted to show you kind of a grand tour of a virtual version of the calculator that I learned on. This is the calculator that I've had since I was in middle school, and I still use it today in college. Getting to know your calculator is a huge step toward being able to be fluent in math as a speaking and communication tool and as a calculation tool, because the more that you work on learning your calculator, the more efficient you will be, not just at homework that requires calculators, but also on crunch time. When you have an exam that requires a calculator, you'll know exactly where all the tools and functions are that you need to use. Now, one more note. There are many makes and models of calculators, and you may use a different one than I use. Even if that's the case, you might be able to learn something from this video. That's because many calculators have very similar keys that you can use. And in most cases, your calculator will have some functions that are on the buttons themselves, and some that are written above and need to be accessed with different keys. So come on along as we give this a try. Here's that virtual version I was telling you about. This is the TI software that goes with the TI-84 calculators. And perhaps this is the one you use in school, or perhaps you use a different one. But all calculators have something in common, don't they? No matter what calculator you have, there's always going to be number keys on the front. Let's start out slow. Can you write the number 8,972? 8,972. It goes in just like on any calculator. And what if I wanted to add or subtract? Well, just like on a regular calculator, it's not a graphing calculator. There's plus keys and minus keys. There's also multiplication and division, so you could add, or you could subtract, or multiply, or divide. You might notice that on screen on this kind of calculator, the multiplication sign looks a little different. Take a look. What is that? It looks a little like a bug, doesn't it? Or an asterisk. And that shows you multiplication. That's actually part of the symbology, the symbols we use in math. The asterisk symbol is used when we're typing in a multiplication sign on a computer. Let's try some other things. What do I do if I want to backspace everything on my calculator? Well, on this calculator, it's the clear key. If I press clear, it all goes away. And what about if we wanted to write something more complicated? Let's take a look here. First things first, some buttons have writing on them directly, just like our number keys. If you want the number 7, all you have to do is press 7. But what if I wanted a square root? How would we get that? Well, take a look. Can you find it on the screen? Is it on one of the button keys? Do you see it? It's actually above one of the buttons. It's above x squared. And the way we get to it is with a different button. Because this one is written in blue, we can actually use the blue second key to get to it. And many functions on your calculator work just like that. If you want to get pi into your calculator, you could type it all out. That would be a lot of digits. I only know this many. 3.14159326538979323846238327. That's as much pi as I know. But that would be a lot of writing, wouldn't it? You might know pi is 3.14. 3.14 is a round and short version. But for the most accurate calculations, where we won't make a typing mistake and we also won't round it so much that we lose accuracy later, the best bet you will have on your calculator might just be to get to the pi key by pressing second. And right here, we get pi. And that just puts pi automatically into your equation. So if we wanted 1 times pi, we could just write pi. Let's see how many digits are in there. There we go. That's how many the calculator uses. Or for 2 times pi, we could do 2 times pi, and the calculator will just know what to do with it. That comes in handy if you're ever calculating things with circles. Good to keep in mind. What if we wanted to multiply something by itself? Square it. We could just multiply it by itself directly. If we wanted 1,432 squared, we could say 1,432 times 1,432. And sure, we would get it that way. But we could also press the squared button. 1,432 x squared gives us itself times itself also. But what if we had an exponent higher than 2? What if we wanted 1,432 cubed? I don't see an x to the 3 button. What would we do? Well, there's a special button for that. 1,432 caret gives us an exponent because caret is not like the vegetable here. Caret is an upward pointing arrow, and it actually is a computer way of writing exponent. 1,432 cubed can be solved that way, or really any exponent that you wanted to find. You could type it in the same way, because there just isn't room for so many buttons. But of course, calculators must be calculated on within reason. And sometimes there's just too much of a calculation for even our calculators to handle. And you would need a more powerful software for that. But back to this. This is a graphing calculator. So one thing that you can try is to go to the y equals button to type in an equation and click graph to see a picture of the math sentence you just wrote. And as you get very sophisticated with your calculator, you'll learn how to zoom in or out to see your graph a little bit differently. To get out of this screen, we hit clear to go back to our main calculation screen. And as you learn to use your calculator, you'll become even more fluent and learn how to do all sorts of things. From typing in angles to calculating really specific expressions, you'll be able to be fluent and know exactly how to communicate in the language that your calculator speaks. But I have one word of caution. Your calculator is very literal. So just like when you calculate on a piece of paper and you need to watch your order of operations, the order in which you calculate, the same thing goes for a calculator. And you'll use parentheses, these buttons here, to help keep it clear to your calculator. What should be calculated first, second, third, etc. Remember to always check your parentheses. And when in doubt, calculate it twice. The calculator should give you the same thing both times, unless there was an error one of the times you typed it. Have fun learning to use your calculator, becoming fluent, and learning to speak the language. The more you practice, the better you'll become.